You ever had someone act like they own your property? Because I did. And let's just say, she learned a lesson the hard way. Bam, bam, bam. The banging on my garage door was loud. A woman's voice screamed from the other side. Let me out right now. I had one problem though. I didn't feel like opening that door just yet. I live in a relatively peaceful neighborhood. One of those places where everyone keeps to themselves. It's not some fancy gated community, but it's decent. People mow their lawns, walk their dogs, and occasionally nod at each other when taking out the trash. Pretty uneventful, which is exactly how I like it. I've been here for a few years now, and in all that time, I've never had any real issues with my neighbors. No loud late-night parties, no suspicious activity, no nightmare HOA letters over the length of my grass. Just a simple, quiet life, until she showed up. Now, you know how some people just radiate a certain energy? The kind that immediately lets you know they think the world revolves around them? Yeah, that was her. She wasn't my direct neighbor. She lived a few streets away, far enough that I had never interacted with her personally, but close enough that I had seen her around. And every time I did, she was complaining about something. At the grocery store, she was demanding to see the manager over a mispriced item. At the local coffee shop, she was berating the barista because her latte had too much foam. At the neighborhood park, she was snapping at some poor kid for getting too close to her tiny, trembling Pomeranian. Basically, she was one of those people. But since I never had to deal with her directly, I just chalked it up to other people's problem and went about my life. Until she decided to make herself my problem. And she did that by parking in my garage. Now, before you think, wait, how is that even possible? Let me set the scene. It was a regular weekend afternoon. I had decided to clean out my garage. One of those, I'll only take an hour projects that inevitably turns into a full-day nightmare once you start. I had pulled out a bunch of old storage bins, stacked them outside, and was in the process of reorganizing. Since I needed extra space, I had moved my car out into the driveway. The garage door was wide open. Sunlight streamed in. The weather was nice, and I was right in the middle of cursing at a tangled mess of Christmas lights when my phone buzzed inside the house. Figuring it was nothing urgent, I stepped inside to grab it. No more than 10 minutes, and when I walked back out, there was a silver Lexus SUV sitting comfortably inside my garage. At first, I just stared. My brain refused to process it, because why in the actual hell was there a random car parked inside my garage? For a brief, stupid second, I wondered if I had somehow invited someone over and completely forgotten. Like, maybe a friend had dropped by. Maybe one of my family members had decided to swing by unannounced. But no, there, standing beside the SUV, completely unbothered, was her. She was leaning against the car, casually scrolling through her phone like she had every right to be there. And the craziest part, she didn't even acknowledge me at first. Like, I walked out of my own house, saw a stranger parked in my garage, and she was the one acting like she belonged there. Now, I'm not the kind of person who immediately jumps to anger, but I'll be honest, at that moment, I was 2 seconds away from losing it. I took a breath, trying to keep my voice calm. Excuse me? She didn't even look up. Hey, can I help you? Finally, she barely glanced at me, raising an eyebrow like I was the intruder. Oh, she said, like she had just noticed me for the first time. You live here? I cannot describe the level of rage and disbelief I felt in that moment. I just stared at her, because what kind of question is that? I took another breath. Yeah, I live here. She sighed, actually sighed, like she was mildly inconvenienced by my existence. Yeah, I just needed a spot for a few minutes. There was no street parking. I had to physically stop myself from laughing, because what the hell? No street parking? I repeated, looking out at the entirely empty curb just a few feet away. She waved a hand, completely dismissing my tone. It's not a big deal. I'll only be here for a few minutes. I'm waiting for someone. And that's when my patience snapped. I folded my arms. No, move your car, now. For the first time, she actually looked at me, like, really looked. And her entire expression shifted into annoyed entitlement. Excuse me? She said, her voice dripping with attitude. I matched her energy. You need to move your car. She let out this dramatic huff, rolling her eyes like I was the unreasonable one. Wow, you don't have to be so rude. It's just a few minutes. I laughed, actually laughed. Oh, my bad, I said, my voice pure sarcasm. I didn't realize this was a free parking zone for entitled strangers. She crossed her arms. You don't need to be so aggressive. I took a step forward. Lady, you're trespassing. You don't get to just claim my garage because you feel like it. She scoffed, like I was the one being ridiculous. I live just a few blocks away, she said, waving a hand dismissively. Oh, okay. So because she kinda sorta lived in the same general area, that gave her a free pass to park on my private property? I was done. Move your car, now. She narrowed her eyes. But finally, she yanked open her car door, mumbling something about rude people under her breath. And I was seconds away from watching her leave forever when, boom, my garage door suddenly closed. For a moment, we both just stood there. She was inside the garage. I was outside the garage. And her car? Trapped. I blinked. She blinked. And then, bam, 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 the banging started. Hey, open this right now. Let me out. And in that moment, I had a choice. I could open it immediately. I could be the bigger person. Or I could take my sweet, sweet time. And let's just say, I wasn't feeling particularly generous. I stood there, arms crossed, watching this woman act like she had every right to be inside my garage. My garage. She wasn't in my driveway. She wasn't parked on the street. She was literally inside my private property with her shiny Lexus SUV sitting comfortably in a space that belonged to me. She was still holding her phone, barely giving me a glance, like this was nothing more than an everyday inconvenience. And honestly, that was the moment I realized something. She didn't think she had messed up. She wasn't worried about parking inside a stranger's garage. She wasn't embarrassed or apologetic. In her mind, she had every right to be here. And that set me off. I took a step forward. Move your car, now. She scoffed. Actually scoffed, like I had just asked her to do something outrageous. Wow, you don't have to be so aggressive about it, she muttered, shaking her head like I was the one being rude. I laughed, actually laughed out loud. Oh, my bad. I forgot to say please when asking a total stranger to move their car out of my private garage. She rolled her eyes. It's not a big deal, okay? I was only gonna be here for a little while. There was no parking outside. I pointed to the literal empty street right in front of us. Really? Because it looks like there's plenty of parking right there. She glanced over her shoulder and then had the audacity to wave her hand like it didn't matter. Yeah, but I didn't want to park on the street. It's safer in here. I had to take a deep breath. I don't know what kind of entitled fantasy world she was living in, but in this world, she had just trespassed onto private property and thought she could act like it was no big deal. And I was supposed to just, what, be okay with it? Listen, I said, my voice sharper now. I don't know what made you think this was okay, but you need to move your car, now. She put her hands on her hips, like she was scolding a child. I told you, it's just for a few minutes. I'm waiting for someone. And I told you, you can't just park inside someone's garage without asking. She let out a dramatic huff and shook her head like I was the unreasonable one. Ugh, fine, whatever. You don't have to be so rude. She turned, yanked open her car door, and just as she was about to get in, boom. The garage door slammed shut. At first, neither of us moved. She blinked. I blinked. Then she slowly turned back to me. What just happened? I stared at the now completely closed garage door. Oh, this was too good. You just got trapped, I said, crossing my arms. Her face twisted in confusion, then frustration. Open it. I raised an eyebrow. What's the magic word? Her eyes narrowed. Open it, now, I shrugged. Not even a please? Wow, so rude. She stomped over to the garage door, grabbed the handle, and yanked. Nothing. She tried again. Still nothing. Now, here's the thing. My garage door has an automatic lock. The moment it closes, it stays shut unless you have the remote or the keypad code. And guess what? Karen had neither. She spun back around, her face now fully red with anger. You did this on purpose, I laughed. Oh, right, because I have superpowers that let me control the garage door with my mind. She marched up to me, pointing a manicured finger in my face. Let me out, now. And right then, I had a choice. I could let her out. I could just open the door and be done with it. Or I could make sure she really learned her lesson. And honestly, I wasn't feeling very forgiving. Yeah, no, I said, turning on my heel. I think I'll take my time. I walked towards the door leading back into my house. And the second she realized what I was doing, bam, 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 she started pounding on the garage walls. Hey, you can't do this. Oh, I totally can, I called over my shoulder. She let out this half scream, half growl noise. I'll call the cops. I stopped, turned back, and gave her a slow, mocking smile. Go ahead, I said. Let's see how that conversation goes. I could practically see the gears turning in her head. Hello 911, I broke into someone's private property and now I'm stuck. Please help me. Yeah, that would go over real well. Her lips pressed into a thin line. This is illegal, she snapped. I raised an eyebrow. Is it? Because I think you're the one trespassing. She glared at me, her fists clenched, but she didn't say anything. I turned again, reached for the doorknob. Wait, I stopped. She was breathing heavily now, like she was trying really hard to control herself. Her voice came out tight and forced. Just open the door. I tilted my head. Why? Her jaw clenched. Because I need to leave. I pretended to think about it. Maybe if you ask nicely. Her eye twitched. Silence stretched. Then, finally, through gritted teeth, please, open the door. I smiled. See, that wasn't so hard. I walked over to the panel, slowly pressed the button, and watched as the garage door creaked open. The second there was enough space, she practically dove into her car. I stepped aside, arms crossed, watching as she reversed out so fast, she nearly clipped my mailbox. Then she slammed the brakes, rolled down her window, and glared at me. You are the worst person I've ever met. I grinned. Have a great day, Karen. She sped off without another word. And from that day forward, I never saw her near my house again. I was halfway through my coffee when something felt off. You know that eerie sensation when your brain picks up on something before you consciously register it? That was exactly what happened. I frowned, setting my mug down, and glanced out the window. My street was usually quiet, familiar, predictable. But today, something was different. My eyes scanned the driveway, the sidewalk, the front yard, until they landed on the slightly ajar door of my garage. My heartbeat picked up. That door was always shut, always locked. I knew for a fact that I hadn't left it open. My mind raced through possible explanations. Maybe a strong gust of wind had knocked it open. Maybe I'd forgotten to close it last night. But I had never been careless about things like that. I grabbed my phone and cautiously stepped toward the garage, my fingers tightening around the device, like a lifeline. The closer I got, the more my stomach twisted. Something felt wrong. I reached for the handle and nudged the door open, stepping inside, and then froze. There, standing mounted to a shiny Lexus SUV, was a complete stranger. She wasn't startled. She didn't gasp or jump or offer a nervous explanation. No, she was calmly leaning against the car, scrolling through her phone like she had every right to be there. The sheer audacity made my brain stutter. For a few seconds, I just stood there, blinking, waiting for reality to catch up. She noticed me and, with an exaggerated sigh, locked her phone and tucked it into her purse. "Oh, hey," she said, as if greeting a friend at a cafe. My eyebrows shot up. "Oh, hey," that was it. I had a whole list of possible explanations in my head. Emergency situation, car trouble, a mistake. But her attitude immediately ruled those out. This woman was not panicked. She was annoyed at me. I took a deep breath, my voice tight. "Can I help you?" "Nah, I'm good," she replied casually, tapping her nails against the car door. I felt my pulse spike. "Nah, I'm good." She wasn't lost. She wasn't confused. She wasn't in distress. She knew exactly what she was doing. "This is my garage," I said slowly, enunciating each word so there was no room for misinterpretation. "Why is your car here?" That finally got a reaction. She rolled her eyes like I was the one being unreasonable. "Relax. I just needed a place to park for a bit." There was no space outside. She waved her hand dismissively. I turned my head toward the completely empty street, not a single car in sight. Then I turned back to her. "You're kidding, right?" My voice was sharper now, disbelief cutting through my initial shock. She gave a lazy shrug. "What's the big deal? It's not like I stole anything." I let out a sharp laugh. "Oh yeah, sure. You just broke into a stranger's garage and parked your car like it's your personal lot. Totally normal." She sighed dramatically, as if I was asking her to hand over a kidney. "Look, I was only gonna be here for a few minutes. You don't have to be so dramatic." Dramatic? She had the gall to call me dramatic while standing inside my garage next to her car, which was illegally parked on my property. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to stay calm. "You need to leave. Now." Another exaggerated sigh. "Fine. Whatever," she muttered, reaching for her car door. And then, the garage door slammed shut. For a second, nobody moved. She froze, one hand still on the car handle, her head whipping toward the now completely closed garage door. Her voice was tight. "What just happened?" I barely contained my grin. "Looks like you're trapped." Her expression flickered, the first real hint of unease creeping in. "Open the door." I crossed my arms. "Not until you explain exactly why you thought it was okay to park in a stranger's garage." She scoffed. "This is illegal. You can't just lock me in here." I leaned against the workbench, pretending to think. Interesting. Kind of like how breaking into someone's garage is illegal. Funny how that works." Her nostrils flared. "Let me out." I could see it now. the frustration bubbling under her entitled facade, the way her jaw clenched, her fingers gripping the car door tighter. She wasn't scared, not yet, but she was starting to realize that maybe, just maybe, she had messed with the wrong person. I sighed dramatically, mimicking her earlier attitude. Fine, whatever. I'll let you out, and after you tell me why you thought this was okay. Her lips pressed into a thin line. It's just a garage. No one was using it. You weren't even here. Oh, so that makes it fine? If I break into your house while you're at work, is that fine too? Since, you weren't using it? Her jaw tightened. That's not the same thing, I shrugged. Seems pretty similar to me. Silence stretched between us, thick with tension. She hated this. Good. She glared at me, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Are you going to open the door or not? I tilted my head, feigning thoughtfulness. You know what? I think I'll call the cops instead. Her eyes widened, just a flicker of panic before she masked it with anger. You wouldn't. I unlocked my phone. Let's find out. Her entire demeanor shifted. Gone was the nonchalant arrogance. In its place was pure panic. Okay. Look, I'll leave. Just open the door. I grinned. See, that wasn't so hard. I pressed the button to open the garage door, and the second it started lifting, she bolted into her car. She didn't say a word, didn't try to argue, didn't even look at me. She just threw her car into reverse and sped out of my driveway. I stood there, watching her disappear down the street, my heart still pounding from the adrenaline rush. And as I walked back inside, shutting the door behind me, one thought played on repeat in my mind. For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Karen stood frozen, one hand still gripping the car door handle, her other hand hovering near her phone like it was some kind of lifeline. I watched as her expression twisted. First confusion, then annoyance, then something close to disbelief. Her gaze flickered between me and the now shut garage door. Did you just? She started, but I cut her off before she could finish whatever entitled nonsense she was about to say. I didn't do anything, I said, keeping my voice level, though I could barely contain my smirk. The garage door has an automatic lock when it shuts. Her lips parted slightly, her brain clearly trying to process what I just said. Then, in classic Karen fashion, she scoffed, straightening her shoulders like she was about to lecture me in my own house. Oh, please, she huffed, crossing her arms. You clearly locked me in. This is illegal. You can't just trap people like this. I raised an eyebrow, stepping closer. I can't trap people? Karen, you broke into my garage and illegally parked your car here. If anyone's committing a crime, it's you. That hit a nerve. I saw her jaw clench, the first real flicker of doubt appearing in her eyes. She probably hadn't expected me to push back. I wasn't some weak-willed store employee she could bully into giving her a refund. She let out a dramatic sigh, rolling her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. Look, she said, her tone shifting to something fake and condescending. Let's just be reasonable about this. I was only here for a few minutes. There's no reason to make such a big deal out of it. I stared at her. A few minutes? Karen, I've been inside my house for at least an hour, and your car was here before that. How long were you planning to stay? That seemed to throw her off. She blinked rapidly like she was searching for an excuse. Well, it doesn't matter how long I was here. The point is, I wasn't hurting anyone. Except you trespassed on private property. Another flash of annoyance. I could see her temper boiling, but she was trying so hard to keep it together. I folded my arms, enjoying the way her confidence started to crumble. What's your plan now, Karen? Because that door isn't opening anytime soon. Her face twisted into something between panic and anger. She turned back to the garage door and pressed the button on the wall panel. Nothing. She pressed it again. Still nothing. She spun around, her entitlement shifting into pure frustration. This is insane. You have to let me out. My car is stuck in here. Yeah, I said, leaning against the wall casually. Just like you planned. Her nostrils flared. You're really going to keep me hostage over a stupid parking spot? I smirked. Hostage? You're free to leave whenever you want. Without the car. Her eyes widened like I had just threatened her life. I am not leaving my car. Well, I shrugged. Then I guess we're stuck here together, aren't we? Her fists clenched. She was losing control, and she knew it. Karen wasn't used to not getting her way, and the realization that she wasn't the one with power in this situation was making her unravel. Her next move was predictable. She pulled out her phone, probably to call someone to come rescue her, but the second she glanced at the screen, her face dropped. No signal? I asked, already knowing the answer. Yeah, that tends to happen in here. Her head snapped up. You're doing this on purpose. I let out a laugh. Yeah, Karen, I hacked into your phone and turned off your signal. Totally part of my master plan. She stomped toward me, jabbing a finger in my face. You need to open this door right now. I have places to be." "Oh yeah?" I tilted my head. "Like where? Because it seems like you were just planning to sit in my garage all day," she faltered, realizing she had just walked into a trap. I shook my head. "You really thought this would go your way, huh?" Karen huffed, stepping back like she was physically restraining herself from screaming. Then, in a last-ditch effort, she went for the classic Karen move. "I'm calling the police." I burst out laughing. "Please, please do." She frowned, clearly not expecting that reaction. I grinned. "Go ahead. Call them. Let them know you broke into someone's garage, parked illegally, and then refused to leave." That shut her up. I crossed my arms. "What's the matter? I thought you had places to be?" Her face was turning redder by the second, and I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to find some kind of way out of this. But she was stuck, and I wasn't letting her off easy. At first, Karen didn't even realize she was trapped. She had stepped into my garage so confidently, like she owned the place, barely even acknowledging that this wasn't her property. She parked her car in the middle, blocking everything, and casually shut the door behind her, probably assuming she could just open it again whenever she wanted. She had done this before. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision. No, she was used to getting away with things like this. In her mind, she wasn't trespassing. She was simply taking what she deserved. She probably figured, what's the big deal? It's just a garage. She'd be here for a little while, do whatever entitled nonsense she had planned, and then leave whenever she felt like it. Only, that's not how things went. The moment she tried to leave, she realized something was wrong. I was inside my house, minding my own business, when I heard the first telltale sound, a single sharp click from the garage door button, then another, then a frantic series of clicks, each one more desperate than the last. At first, I didn't react. I just let it happen. Then came the thud, a dull, panicked thud against the garage door, and then another. By now, I knew exactly what was happening. Karen had just discovered she wasn't in control anymore. I set my coffee down and walked over to my home security screen, pulling up the garage camera feed. And there she was, standing in front of the door, staring at the button like it had just personally betrayed her. She pressed it again, harder this time. Nothing. Her confidence started to crack. She turned in a slow circle, like she was suddenly seeing the space for the first time. The realization crept over her face. She was alone in here. And worse, she had done this to herself. I leaned back, sipping my coffee. This was about to get interesting. Karen wasn't worried yet, though. No, not yet. She still had her entitlement on her side. She stomped over to her car, yanked the driver's side door open, and sat inside. For a second, I thought she might try to ram the garage door open, but then I saw her grab her phone instead. I could practically hear her thoughts. "Ugh, I'll just call someone to open it for me." But then she glanced at her screen and froze. Her eyebrows pulled together. She frowned. She lifted the phone higher, waving it around like that would somehow summon a signal out of thin air. And then, for the first time, she hesitated. I almost laughed. "Yeah, Karen, that bad signal you're experiencing, that's called a reinforced concrete structure blocking your reception. Welcome to garage physics, sweetheart." She climbed out of the car, frustration creeping into her movements. Still, she wasn't panicking yet. No, not yet. She marched over to the garage door, inspected the manual lock, and actually tried to pull it up, like sheer Karen strength was going to be enough to lift a reinforced metal door. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. That's when the real panic started to set in. She turned around, scanning the walls, searching for some alternative way out. That's when she spotted the side door, the one leading directly into my house. I leaned forward, watching her face light up with a sudden misplaced sense of victory. She actually thought she had found a way out. She strode toward the door and grabbed the handle. But the second she twisted it, her entire body jerked, locked. She twisted the knob again, and again. It didn't budge. Her breathing changed. She actually tried knocking next, as if that would somehow change anything. I just sat there, watching, letting her sink further into her own mess. By now, Karen's entitlement was cracking. Her posture wasn't as confident. Her shoulders were getting tense. She wasn't just annoyed anymore. She was genuinely worried. She paced the garage for a minute, probably trying to convince herself that this wasn't a big deal. But the longer she stayed trapped in there, the more it started to dawn on her. She had no control here. She had walked into my property, assuming she could just leave whenever she wanted. But now, she was stuck. And I had a front row seat to watch her unravel. Karen's breathing had changed. It wasn't that smug, arrogant huff she'd been doing before. No, this was something different. At first, she was just annoyed. But now, it was a mix of panic, frustration, and helplessness. She had never been in a situation like this before. She was always in control, always had someone to bail her out. always knew how to make someone else deal with her problems. But here, she was alone. I sat there, watching the security feed, coffee in hand, waiting for the moment when she'd snap completely. And then it happened. She started banging on the garage door, not knocking, banging, with both fists, hitting it over and over like a trapped animal. "Hello?" She waited. No response. "Is anyone out there?" Silence. She turned toward the side door and started pounding on it next, her knuckles slamming against the wood. "Open this door right now!" Nothing. She stepped back, shaking with rage. And then she let out a scream. Not a normal scream. A full-blown, rage-fueled Karen meltdown. She grabbed her phone again. Earlier, she had no signal, but now, she had one tiny flickering bar, a lifeline. She frantically dialed a number. I watched as she pressed the phone to her ear, pacing in tight, erratic circles. Then her face lit up. "Yes, hello? I need help." But almost instantly, her expression fell. Her voice changed. She wasn't demanding anymore. She was pleading. "Wait, hello? Can you hear me? Hello?" The call cut out. Karen froze. Her hand slowly lowered. And then, her entire body tensed. She screamed again. But this time, it wasn't anger. It was fear. She was trapped. For real. She yanked the phone back up, redialing instantly. This time, she got through. "Hello? Yes, it's me. I'm trapped in someone's garage. I need help right now." She was breathing hard, her words coming out in short, panicked bursts. I leaned forward, waiting. Then I saw her face drop. "What? No, I'm not trespassing." Oh, Karen. She had called the police, and now she had to explain herself. I could just imagine the officer on the other end. "Ma'am, why are you in someone else's garage?" Karen wasn't prepared for that question. Well, listen, that doesn't matter. Just send someone to get me out of here." The officer probably wasn't buying it. Her face got redder. Her eyes darted around. Then she snapped. "Do you know who I am?" There it was. The classic Karen line. She kept yelling, but the signal cut out again. The call dropped. Karen lost it. She threw her phone against the garage wall. It bounced off and landed on the concrete floor, screen flashing. She stood there, chest heaving, hands clenched, shaking with fury. But then she noticed something. Her car. The doors. She rushed over, yanking the driver's side door handle. Locked. She ran around to the passenger side. Locked. She tried the back. Locked. She slammed her fists against the window, screaming again. I was watching every second of it. She stormed back to the garage door and started kicking it, hard, over and over, her heels slamming against the metal, her entire body jerking with every impact. She kept going until she stumbled back, panting. And then she did something truly desperate. She got on her knees and tried to lift the garage door with her bare hands. It didn't move, not even a little. She let out a strangled noise somewhere between a sob and a growl. She was breaking. I could see it. The realization was hitting her. For the first time in her life, she had no power, no control, and no way out. Karen stood in the middle of the garage, panting, sweat glistening on her forehead. She had thrown every tantrum in the book, screamed, banged on doors, kicked the walls, but nothing worked. Her phone was useless. The signal kept cutting out, and she had no way to contact anyone. For the first time, she wasn't the one in control. The realization was starting to sink in. But just as the panic really started to take over, something happened. A vibration. A buzzing noise echoed in the silent garage. Karen's head snapped toward the sound. It was her phone. The screen lit up from where it lay on the floor. A name flashed across the screen. Someone was calling her. She scrambled toward it, her perfectly manicured nails scraping against the concrete as she grabbed the phone. Her fingers fumbled to answer. "Hello? Yes. Oh my God. You have to help me." But then, she froze. Her face changed. The color drained from her cheeks. What? She stammered. Her voice was barely a whisper now. She pressed the phone harder against her ear. That's not funny. Stop messing around." A long silence stretched between her and whoever was on the other end. Her breath hitched. Then, suddenly, she stood up straight. Her eyes darted around the garage, scanning every shadow, every dark corner. Her body stiffened. She looked terrified. And then, she turned around so fast it was like she felt something behind her. But there was nothing. I was watching from the security camera. My curiosity piqued. Who had called her? And why did she look so freaked out? I leaned in, trying to read her lips. But she wasn't speaking anymore. She was just standing there, gripping her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. She took a slow step back, her shoulders tense. Then another. She looked like she wanted to scream, but was holding it in. And then, without warning, her phone slipped from her hand. It hit the floor with a sharp clack and went dark. She didn't even try to pick it up. She just stood there, breathing heavily, eyes locked on something unseen. Then she bolted. She sprinted toward the side door, yanking at the handle even though she already knew it was locked. She let out a strangled, panicked sob and spun back around, pressing herself against the door as if trying to get as far away from the middle of the garage as possible. But why? What had she heard? Then, something even weirder happened. She started mumbling. At first, it was just frantic, whispered words under her breath. But then her voice grew louder. "It's not real. It's not real. It's not real." Her hands were shaking, fingers clutching at the fabric of her designer blouse. She was terrified. I had never seen a Karen this rattled before. This was something different. This wasn't just a spoiled, entitled meltdown. This was fear. And then, just when I thought things couldn't get any stranger, she screamed. A full-blown, blood-curdling scream. She turned sharply and started slamming her fists against the garage door again. Only this time, it wasn't out of anger. It was desperation. "Let me out. Please, let me out." Her voice cracked. I narrowed my eyes at the screen. Something wasn't right. And then I noticed it. A shadow. It was barely visible in the corner of the security footage. A flicker of darkness, shifting slightly. I frowned. Was it a trick of the light? I rewound the footage, slowing it down. There it was again, right behind Karen. But when I checked the live feed, nothing. I clicked my tongue. This wasn't what I expected. I was just messing with her, letting her stew in her own entitlement. But now it felt like something else was going on. And then, as if the universe decided to prove me right, Karen dropped to her knees. She wasn't screaming anymore. She wasn't even crying. She was staring straight ahead, frozen, completely silent. Her mouth hung slightly open, her breathing shallow. And then she started whispering, "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't mean to." Her voice was shaky. She looked like she was talking to someone, but there was no one else there. Goosebumps crawled up my arms. And then the garage light flickered. Just once, Karen whimpered. She scooted back against the door, her hands trembling. And then she did something that shocked me. She pressed her palms together like she was praying. I had never seen a Karen pray before. At this point, I had no idea what was happening. Was she hallucinating? Was she just that scared? Or was something else in there with her? And then, just when I thought she couldn't get more terrified, her head snapped toward the car. I didn't see anything at first. But then, I noticed something in the reflection of the car's side window. A shape, a silhouette, faint, but there. And Karen, she saw it too. She bolted upright, her hands fumbling at the garage door again, yanking, pulling, her breath coming out in panicked gasps. "I'm sorry," she shrieked. "Please let me go." And then, the security feed cut out. The screen went black. I sat there, staring at my monitor, my heart pounding. What the hell just happened? A second later, the screen flickered back to life. The garage was empty. Karen was gone. And the garage door? Still locked. I stared at the screen, my fingers frozen over the keyboard. My pulse pounded in my ears as I read the last message again. Too late. Karen was missing. Her car was still locked inside my garage. Her phone, somehow still in my possession, had just received a message. But from whom? And more importantly, how? I felt an icy shiver crawl up my spine as I hesitated, my eyes glued to the screen. This wasn't normal. This wasn't just some entitled Karen throwing a fit. Something else was at play here. Something far beyond what I had anticipated when I first locked that garage door. My hands trembled slightly as I went back to the message log. Karen's last sent text. "It's here. I didn't know. I didn't mean to. Please, I'll leave. Just let me go." Who was she talking to? What was she talking about? I clicked on the unknown number, but there was nothing. No call history, no contact name. Just an empty, black void where the digits should have been. I tried calling back, but the line didn't even ring. It was just dead silence. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, it was a video from Karen's number. My breath hitched. My hands hovered over the screen, unsure whether I should press play. Every part of me screamed that something was deeply wrong here. But my curiosity, bordering on terror, got the better of me. I tapped on the video. The screen flickered before showing the inside of my garage. The camera was shaky, like Karen had been holding it in her hands while recording. Her face appeared in the corner, her eyes wide with terror. I don't know what's happening," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I parked here because it was open. That's all, I swear." But she turned the camera around, pointing it toward the car. "There's something inside." My heartbeat thundered in my chest. The video quality was grainy, but I could still make out the reflection in the car's windshield. At first, I thought it was just a distortion, a trick of the dim lighting. But then, it moved. A dark figure, not a person, not an animal, something else. Karen let out a gasp in the video and then stumbled back, the camera shaking violently. The screen blurred as she turned and bolted toward the garage door. "Let me out!" she screamed, pounding on the door. "Let me out!" But the door didn't budge. She turned the camera back toward the car, her breathing ragged. The windshield was empty. The figure was gone. And then, the video cut to static. My stomach twisted. I backed away from my phone as if the screen itself was cursed. This didn't make sense. Karen was an annoying, entitled woman. She had broken the rules, trespassed on my property, and gotten herself locked in my garage. That much was clear. But now she was just gone, and whatever had been inside that car, what had happened to it? My mind raced, desperately trying to grasp for logic. Maybe this was some elaborate prank. Maybe she had staged this whole thing for attention. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. I checked my security footage again, scrubbed through every second of it, and then I saw it. Just before Karen had disappeared, before the distortion on the camera feed, there was a moment where her face twisted in absolute terror. Her mouth opened wide, her eyes locked onto something behind the camera, and then a shadow. Not hers, not mine, something else. Something standing right behind her. And then, the feed cut to black. I slammed my laptop shut. My breathing was shallow, my mind spiraling into paranoia. I wasn't just dealing with an entitled Karen anymore. Something far worse had stepped into my garage. And now, I had no idea if it had ever left. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that final frame. The distorted shadow behind Karen, her face frozen in sheer terror, and then, nothing. I kept telling myself that this was just a bad dream, that there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe she had managed to slip out somehow. Maybe the security cameras just glitched. Maybe, just maybe, Karen had played a sick joke on me. But my gut told me otherwise. Morning came, and I had no choice but to check the garage. My hands trembled as I turned the key, the metal groaning as the door lifted inch by inch. A deep, unsettling silence filled the air. The car was still there. The engine was off, but Karen, gone. No signs of forced entry, no broken locks, just the lingering scent of something off. A mix of burnt rubber and something metallic, something that sent shivers down my spine. I checked the car first. The doors were still locked from the inside. I hesitated, then pulled at the handle, expecting resistance, but it opened. The interior was freezing, colder than the outside air. My breath fogged up as I leaned in. Karen's purse was still in the passenger seat. Her phone? Still tucked beside the gear shift, like she had never even tried to take it with her. But the thing that sent ice down my spine, the driver's seat was covered in deep, claw-like scratches. Not fingernail scratches, not normal wear and tear. These marks looked inhuman. I swallowed hard and stepped back. Something felt wrong. The air was heavy, pressing down on my chest. I turned, scanning the dimly lit garage, half expecting Karen to lunge out of some dark corner. But the only thing waiting for me was silence. I took the phone and bolted out of there, locking the garage behind me. I didn't care about Karen anymore. I didn't care what trouble she had gotten herself into. I just needed to get away. Back inside, I forced myself to breathe. I needed answers. I powered on Karen's phone, scrolling through her messages. The last texts she had sent were the same ones I had already seen. But then, I saw the drafts. Unsent messages. It's real. They were right. It's inside. I shouldn't have stopped. It knows I'm here. Don't open the door. My fingers shook as I read the last line over and over again. Don't open the door. A soft creak sounded behind me. I froze. The garage door. I had locked it. I was sure I had locked it. Slowly, I turned my head. The door was still shut. But something wasn't right. The air was colder now, pressing down on me like a heavy weight. My breath came out in shallow, shaky puffs. And then, 3 slow, deliberate knocks echoed from the other side. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Another knock, louder this time. Then, silence. I don't know how long I stood there, waiting, praying that whatever was on the other side would just go away. But deep down, I knew that Karen was never coming back. And whatever had taken her, it wasn't done with me yet. If you made it this far, I have one question for you. What the heck do you think happened to Karen? Was she just a delusional, entitled woman who messed with the wrong garage? Or was there something else inside with her? Drop your wildest theories in the comments, because trust me, I've read through the footage 100 times, and I still don't know what I saw. And if you thought this was crazy, oh, just wait. I've got more nightmare fuel stories coming your way. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because you don't want to miss what's next. Trust me, you really, really don't.